It's a cold Saturday morning in February, and the MP3 needs new wheel bearings. So let's fire up the wood stove in the garage, get it warmed up in here, see if we can't get this taken care of. Back in November at the end of the riding season, I could feel that there was a shimmy in the front end, and I discovered that there's a little bit of a wobble in this front wheel bearing. You probably can't see it, but if you jiggle it top and bottom, you can feel it. And I already eliminated that it's not the steering, it's not the strut. Everything else seems to move properly, but I've isolated it down to just that wheel bearing. So we're gonna pop that off and see if we can change them. Looks like we need these two bolts right here. One at the top, one at the bottom, and then the caliper will pop right off. There we go. Now the caliper's off. We have free access to that hub. Alright, there is a cotter pin and a little castle nut on the front of that hub spindle. So let's see if we can pop that off of there. Okay, there's the cotter pin. A little castle nut. It should just pop right off of there because it's not really doing much. There we go. There's the castle nut. That leaves us with one big nut on the middle. Let's pop that off of there. Okay, that's a 22mm socket. Not on there too tight. Just needs a big socket. So we got a nut. Oh, of course it's stuck. Alright, let's try that again. Camera battery died. I'm really not whacking this very hard. It's just a little bitty hammer. I'm just giving it a tap here, and it is moving. It's just a slip fit in the front part of that bearing. There we go. Come on. Pop out of there. There we go. So we got a sealed roller bearing on the front with a circlip holding it in place. The back side has a needle bearing. And feels like there is a small grease seal there on part of that. Got the tone ring for the speedometer. And there is, if I can zoom in there a little bit. There we go. There is a grease seal here inside. And that looks like it. There's nothing else in there. There's a circlip in the back that I think holds the spindle to the hub, but we don't have to worry about that. So now we move on to the next. Alright, whatever your favorite tool is, we got to get that snap ring plier out of there. Looks like this is the ticket. Maybe. Or not. Alright. Okay, we need to get that snap ring out of there. So grab whatever snap ring removal tool you work best with and get her out of there. Yeah, that's working well. Okay, take 3. I got it. There we go. Snap ring is out. Now turn it over, see if we can bang this bearing out. I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Just stick a screwdriver in there, see if I can knock it out. It's probably going to damage the bearing, but we're not going to reuse that one anyway, so who cares. Yeah, that didn't look like it moved at all. So we're going to have to step it up a notch. I found a socket and an extension that fits straight through the hole and sits on the inner race of the bearing in the front. And we're going to give that a whack with a slightly bigger hammer. Let's see if that works. If it doesn't, we'll have to get out the press. I felt it move. Maybe this. Yep, it's moving. Let's reset this. Yeah, go ahead and whine about the brake disc. There it goes. There it is. So it is a single-sided bearing packed with grease on the inside, has a seal on the outside, and it is a Korean bearing, KBD. KBD 6202. Korea. Banging on the inside of that bearing race is definitely going to kill those balls. So that'll be a due for a new one. Now, we'll see if we can get the needle bearing out. Looking in the inside of that hole, they definitely packed that cavity full of grease. So that's why they don't worry about the seal on the back side of that bearing, because that's just all filled up in there. So now I gotta see if I can get on the ledge of the needle bearing. Okay, I found another socket that seems to fit the needle bearing. We're about to find out how tight that is in there. I'm certainly not gonna reinstall it this way because the needle bearings tend to have a more delicate edge, but we'll see if we can pop this out and find out how tight it really is. I don't feel it moving, so I'm thinking it's pretty tight in there. So I'm gonna have to go dig the press out of the corner and have a go at it. Alright then, we got the old inherited press. We got the hub set up in there with that little socket and a couple other spacers just to get her the right height. And now we're gonna pump that up. Give it a squish. Let's see if that'll pop out of there. I can't believe it's going to be in there too tight. Oop, there it goes. Nothing to it. As far as presses go, that wasn't in there tight at all. Alright, so we'll let that relax. And I'm gonna need another spacer, but yeah, we're already popped out of there. There's the little bit of grease seal. There's the needle bearing starting out of there. Let's finish squishing that. Okay, I betcha. I'll just put this in here. I can pop that right the rest of the way out. Or not. Okay. I figured that would slide right out of there. Could be wrong. Okay, a little bit of a reset. And that will push right out of there. Boop, there it goes. Okay. That was easy. There's my socket. Here's the needle bearing. Let's go grab the new ones and we'll push them right back into the hole now that we got it all set up. Alright, I was going to see if we could read the number off of this bearing. don't know if it'll focus on that or not. So that's gonna go. There is a little seal. Probably worth changing. I'm stingy and didn't buy one, so looks like it'll be alright. Here's the new pieces I just bought. Get them out of the bag. The roller bearing, marked as HK 2016, so that looks like the same deal. And these are the new wheel bearings. They were the 177610 Piaggio part number, and these are SKF. Where was that number? 6202 RSH. So we'll slap them right back in there. One thing I did notice is that the inside hole for the needle bearing doesn't have a ledge on the inside. So I'm guessing that we need to push that back in there with the seal and just make it flush. And that'll be what it's supposed to be. The outer roller bearing does have a ledge on the inside, so that one will definitely seat when it hits bottom. Let's go do it. Alright, let's get this lined up in here. I've got just the needle bearing in there at the moment. See if we can get that started. Gently. Gently. Okay. It's just about flush with the tool. Go back, I'll put the seal in there. Okay. The seal is sitting in there nicely. And we'll squish that down. Not sure about that. Let me take a look. Yeah, that didn't work as well as I'd hoped. I squished my seal. I guess I need new seals now. Hey, back to the drawing board. A few days later, I have my new seals. Here they are. I measure them with the calipers, and they are just about 4 millimeters. You can't actually read that, but that's what they are. I'm going to use the back edge of the caliper. It's got a little stick out as a gauge, and I'm going to press that needle bearing down that 4 millimeters and then put the seal over the top. We'll see how that works out. We're set up in the press. Lock that down. Run that down a little bit, because I'm going to have to eyeball this and measure that 4 millimeters. Alright, let's check that and see what that looks like. Got my calipers, and where are we? Oh, feels like I need to go a little bit more. Okay, I'll push down a little farther. Alright, we're measuring a little stub on the back of the caliper, that step between the needle bearing and where the flush edge would be, and that looks pretty close. It's a little bit below, but I'm okay with that. Alright, now we're going to push the seal down on top and see what happens. I'm ready to put the seal in, but I wasn't happy with how that was sitting on the press. I don't want to distort it. So I'm going to put the seal in here. I found a socket that has a nice flat bottom that fits in the bigger bore nicely. So I'm going to try that. Set that in there. Put that in here. I'm just going to give it a whack. Let's see if I can't seat that down in there without getting too crazy. Look at that. Nice and flush. That's the way it started out. No distortion, no muss, no fuss. Needle bearing is underneath it. Now I can do the other side. Cool. Now for the messy bit. Time to pack these wheel bearings with grease so they're ready to go. Alright, there's the messy bit. Try not to get grease on the camera while I'm messing around. Got grease on the bearing. I packed a bunch of grease in the hub. I'll put this bearing in here. This almost seems like it'll slip right in there. Almost. Partway down. Alright. Try giving that a whack. See if that'll drop right down in there. If it won't, we'll go put it on the press just to seat it the rest of the way. That looks like a no. So we'll go over to the press and give that a squish. Alright, the socket fits that bore very nicely. So now we're just going to squish that bearing down. It probably won't take much. Yeah, it's going right in there. We'll just push that down until it seats on the bottom. Since this side has a seat. Yep, that feels like it right there. I don't need to push it too hard because it's already at the bottom. Take it out, and if I can see the ring, yep, you can see the slot where the circlip goes in there. It should snap right in place. So we'll go pop that in. I think that's it. We'll just make sure that's snapped in, and we're good to go. And that one can go back on the scoop. In the process of this messing around, all this grease was made a mess of the rotors. So I'm going to clean these up real quick before I put them back on. Yeah, this brake cleaner wreaks havoc with your gloves. Imagine what it does to your hands. Now I'm going to put the wheel hub back on. Just slip this on here. Make sure it fits. Put the nut on. Spin that down. Service manual says about 80 Newton meters to about 60 foot-pounds. We'll just crank this in here. It doesn't have to adjust for tension because the center of that bearing is just pin tight on the spindle. So you just got to get it tight enough but not too tight. Put the castle nut on. Cotter pin in. Bend that over, cut it off. And we should be good. Now I can mess with the brakes. There we go. Wheels go on at 20 to 25 Newton meters. Be careful with these. These wheel nuts are quite brittle, very hard, very brittle, and the hub is very soft. So if you have any trouble getting these on and off, you can easily strip them or break them. Ask me how I know. Well, since not everybody inherits a press, I thought I'd try this the shade tree way, with just a piece of threaded rod, some nuts and bolts out of the coffee can. Just set this up in here. I bet you this won't take much pressure, and I can squish this in here just like we did on the press. So add a little pressure. Try this again, rearranged a little bit. Just so we can apply even pressure to that bearing. There we go. Now it's going down. There. So, if you had to do it that way, and that's all you had was a hardware store, threaded rod and nuts and bolts, you could certainly get away with it. Less convenient, but it can be done.